The stagecoach lurched to a stop, and Cordelia Vance tasted blood. She'd bitten her tongue somewhere around the last brutal turn when the wheels hit a rut deep enough to crack bone. Her carpetbag slammed into her ribs. The woman beside her, a prospector's wife with a face like dried leather, didn't even blink. This was the West. Pain was expected. "Red Hollow!" the driver shouted, his voice scraped raw from dust. Cordelia pressed her face to the window. What she saw didn't match the letters. The town sprawled across a valley like something half-built and half-abandoned. Wooden buildings leaned into each other for support. A saloon, a general store with boards missing from its sign, a church with a crooked steeple that looked like it might collapse in the next strong wind, mud streets churned by wagon wheels and horse hooves. And beyond it all, rising like a dark promise against the mountains, stood the largest structure she'd ever seen outside of Boston. The Thorne Estate. It wasn't a ranch house. It was a compound, stone walls, iron gates, chimneys pumping smoke into an already gray sky. Even from a distance, it looked less like a home and more like something designed to keep people out, or in. "That where you're headed?" the prospector's wife asked, following her gaze. Cordelia nodded, her throat suddenly dry. The woman made a sound that could have meant anything. Good luck with that. Before Cordelia could ask what she meant, the door swung open. The driver's face appeared, weathered and impatient. "Miss Vance, your husband sent someone." Husband. The word still felt foreign in her mouth, even though she'd been practicing it for weeks. She hadn't married Elias Thorne yet. That ceremony was supposed to happen tonight, but the letters had been signed, the agreement made. In the eyes of the law and practicality, she already belonged to him. She gathered her bag and stepped down into ankle-deep mud. The man waiting for her wasn't what she expected either. He was young, maybe 25, with a face too pretty for this kind of country. Clean-shaven, pressed clothes, a gun belt that looked more decorative than functional. "Miss Vance." He removed his hat with a flourish that felt rehearsed. "I'm Marcus Webb. Mr. Thorne sent me to escort you to the house." She wanted to ask why Elias himself hadn't come, why her future husband couldn't be bothered to meet the woman traveling across a continent to marry him. But she'd learned early that questions like that made you look desperate, and desperation was blood in the water. "Thank you, Mr. Webb." "Just Marcus, please." His smile was easy, practiced. "We don't stand much on formality out here." Liar, she thought. Everything about him screamed formality, the way he held himself, the deliberate charm. Even the horse waiting behind him, a sleek black mare that had no business in a working ranch. She let him help her into the saddle of a second horse, a roan gelding that looked far more practical. Her legs ached from days in the coach, and the shift to horseback made her muscles scream protest, but she kept her face blank. She'd spent 26 years learning how to hide what she felt. It was the only skill her mother ever taught her that proved useful. They rode through town in silence. People watched from doorways and windows. A few nodded at Marcus. None of them looked at her directly, but she felt their attention like fingers on her spine, measuring, judging, wondering how long she'd last. "How was your journey?" Marcus asked, his tone suggesting he didn't actually care. "Long. I imagine. Boston to here, that's quite a distance." "You know where I'm from?" Mr. Thorne mentioned it. He glanced at her sidelong. "Said you came from good family. Educated, well-bred?" The words made her jaw tighten. She'd heard versions of that her whole life. Good family meant her father had been a lawyer before the drink took him. Educated meant she could read Latin and balance accounts. Well-bred